Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about composition of functions. And composing functions is expanding on the idea of, say you're given a function f of x, which is x squared plus x. And I want to know what f of 2 is. What you would do is you would substitute in a 2 everywhere you see an x in this equation and just solve, find me the value. Well, what composition of function is doing is, instead of putting in a 2 for every x, we're going to put in a whole function for x. So we're going to be putting in x's and numbers and addition signs and division and a whole bunch of other stuff in for every single x. So what you need to do, or how these problems are going to look like, is you're going to be given two functions, f and g, or maybe even more than that, and you're going to be asked to compose them. You can compose them using two different styles of notation. One is this f circle g, or the other illustration, what this actually means is take f and put g inside of it. So we're looking for f of g of x. So in other words, I want to look at my function f, and wherever I see an x, I'm going to put in the function g. Okay? So I'm just going to write down f right now in purple. So x squared plus x. Now everywhere I see an x, right here and right here, I'm going to put in whatever g is. So g is x plus 1. So I'm going to write x plus 1, and then that whole thing was squared, just like my x was squared. Plus, and now I see another x, so I'm going to put in g again, which is x plus 1. Now notice, whenever I put in g, I'm putting it in parentheses, because whatever is being done to that x is applying to all of what I'm substituting in. So this squared is not just going to the 1, the last thing of g, it's going to all of g. Okay? So keep that in mind. Use your parentheses wisely. Here we have f of g of 2. So this is using the notation that I like a lot better, because I can see g is inside of f, just like we had over here. It's the exact same expression, except now we have this 2 part. What does that mean? Well, with f of 2, we were just going to put in a 2 wherever we saw an x. Well, we're going to do that exact same thing, but after we put g in. So after we put g in, we have this expression right here, which was x plus 1 squared plus x plus 1. Now, wherever I see an x, I'm going to put in my 2. So I see an x here, and I see an x here. So I'm going to put in 2 in for those locations. So parentheses 2 plus 1 squared plus 2 plus 1. Alright, and then just simplifying that, I'm going to do this in green now. We have 2 plus 1 is 3, square 3, we have 9, plus 2 plus 1 is 3, so 9 plus 3 is 12. So f of g of 2 is 12. F of g is just this function. Okay, so let's try number 3. So now we're taking g of f of x. So when you have this notation, the second one is being put inside the first. So I always rewrite it so I can see that f is inside and g is on the outside. So I'm going to write down g now. So g is just x plus 1, and wherever I see an x, I'm going to switch to purple here. Wherever I see an x, I'm going to put in f of x. So the whole thing, all of f of x, which is x squared plus x, that's all going in for what x is. So that whole thing. So I use my parentheses. And it looks like I actually could get rid of my parentheses right now because they're not doing anything, but that's the answer right there. Okay? Alright, let's look at the next one. G of f of 2. Notice, Same notation as this, but now we're looking at when f, we're evaluating it at 2. So every time we see an x now in our final equation, we're going to go ahead and put in a 2, just like we did before. So moving this up here, we have x squared plus x plus 1. Now everywhere I see a x, which is right there, I'm going to put in a 2 because that's what it's requesting of me. So I'm going to write 2 squared plus 2 plus 1. And now these are all numbers. I can evaluate that. So 2 squared is actually 4 plus 2 plus 1. So we're looking at 7 as our answer. Okay? So let's have you practice a little bit. See if you can do these on the bottom by yourself. Now notice there's an absolute value and a square root. Oh, scariness. But not really, they're just functions. So just put them in like you normally would. So go ahead and try these on your own. Alright, I'm a color man, so I like to do everything in colors so I know where my functions are going. So I'm just going to label them like that. Okay, so the very first problem is g of f of x. So I'm going to rewrite that. I know that g is my outside function and f is my inside function because f comes second. Okay, so wherever I see an x in g, I'm going to put whatever f of x is. So first I'm going to write down what g is. It is the square root of x. Now wherever I see an x, I'm going to put in whatever f of x is. So I have the square root, and it looks like I'm just going to put this whole function inside that square root. So I'm going to do 3 absolute value of x plus 5 absolute value. And I'm done because I put it in for x. There was only one x, that's it. So here's my answer. G of f of x is equal to the square root of 3 absolute value of x plus 5. Okay? Let's try this next one. We have f first. So it's already rewritten like I like it, so I'm going to leave it. But I'm going to write down f. And f is 3x plus 5 with that absolute value sign. So now wherever I see an x, I'm going to replace it with a g. So right there is my x. So every time I come to that, I'm going to replace it. So that x is now going to become whatever g is, which is the square root of x. So square root of x. And then I just carry on like I normally would. So the answer is 3 absolute value of square root of x plus 5. And that is our answer. Are you getting all these out? Hope so. Alright, let's try 7. So we have h of f. So I'm going to switch colors here. I need red and purple. So I like to rewrite that. So h comes first, so it's on the outside. F comes second, so it's on the inside. So I'm going to write down my h equation, x to the 4th plus 7x. Wherever I see an x, I'm going to be putting f of x. Okay? So I have to write down f of x because that's coming, and it's going to be to the 4th power, so 3 absolute value, x plus 5 absolute value, that whole thing to the 4th power, plus 7 times, okay, this whole thing right here. So 3 absolute value, x plus 5 absolute value, close the parentheses. Whew, a lot of stuff there. That was a long one. But that's the answer. Maybe I should have wrote those in red. So don't be afraid if it looks ugly. It's still right. And if we wanted to, we could distribute the 7 to the 3 to make it 21. This 4th power, don't distribute that through. It's going to mess you up. So just leave it like that. Not much you can simplify there. All right, let's go to this one, h of g of x. It's already rewritten like I like it. So I'm not going to touch that part, but I am going to write down h of x again. So h of x is x to the 4th plus 7x. All right, wherever I see an x, right there, I'm going to put in g of x, which is the square root. So I'm going to write square root of x, that whole thing is to the 4th power, plus 7, oops, I wanted to do that in red. 7, x is now the square root of x. And if you wanted to, you could go ahead and simplify this a little bit more. This is the square root of x times itself 4 times. So when you simplify that down, it's actually going to be x squared plus 7 square root of x. Okay. So composition of functions. Write down what your first one is, write down what your second one is. I like to use this form right here because I can see what is my inside part. And then I write down the outside equation, and then I circle my x's, and wherever I see an x, I just go ahead and plug in what my other function is. I like to use colors, like I said, just to keep things straight. So if you like to use that method, go for it. But if you'd like some more problems to do, here they are. So if you want, you can go ahead and use Wolfram Alpha to go ahead and solve these. The 3 functions are given right up here, and if you have questions on these or want me to talk about them in class, go right ahead, because we should all be able to do these right now. Just a heads up, this one, H, is composed inside G, which is composed inside F. So that is a challenge problem. All right, same thing over here, except now it has a 2 in it. So if you want, that's one you should really practice, okay? Other than that, this was composition of functions.